Solving one-step inequalities by adding and subtracting. Today's joke. There are three types of mathematicians, those that can add and those that can't. Today's lesson is on solving one-step inequalities by adding or subtracting. Our Indiana Academic Standard is 8.3.1. I do want to talk about subtraction property of inequality and addition property of inequality, but we're not going to look at any of the examples because I think they're a little bit confusing. The idea, though, is it's just like an equation. When you subtract a number from both sides of an inequality, it remains the same. If you add a number to both sides of the inequality, again, you're not changing any values. Let's dive right into an example. Subtracting to solve an inequality. Solve each inequality and graph the solution. Our inequality is 4 plus s is less than 12. We're going to write it off to the side. What's happening in this inequality is 4 is being added to s. So to undo that, to get s by itself, we're going to subtract 4 from both sides of the inequality. When we do that, the 4's on the left cancel each other out, so you're left with s. On the right-hand side, you have 12 minus 4, which equals 8. So s is less than 8. When we graph that, we put an open circle at 8, and we draw the arrow left. That means s can be any number that's smaller than 8. Pause the video at this time to finish copying down the notes. For example B, we have negative 16 is greater than or equal to y minus 14. Again, we're trying to get y by itself, so we're going to add 14 to both sides. On the left-hand side, we have negative 16 plus 14, which gives us negative 2. On the right-hand side, subtracting 14 and adding 14 cancel each other out, so you're left with y. You can think of this as y is less than or equal to negative 2. So we can put a closed circle at negative 2, and since y is less than that, again, we're going to have a left arrow because y can be anything less than negative 2 or it can equal negative 2. Pause the video at this time to finish copying down the notes. Don't forget, you have to have a question that you ask in class tomorrow. Subtracting to solve an inequality. Suppose your computer's hard drive has a capacity of 6 gigabytes. The files you have stored on the hard drive occupy at least 2 gigabytes. How much storage space is left for other files? In words, we have the storage space for your files plus the storage space left is less than or equal to the total space. Now we can substitute in what we know. We're going to let s equal the storage space left. We know that the storage space of your files is 2 gigabytes. 2 plus s is less than or equal to 6. Then we're ready to solve. We're trying to still get s by itself, so we're going to subtract 2 from both sides of the inequality. The 2's on the left-hand side cancel each other out. On the right-hand side, you have 6 minus 2, which is 4. So s is less than or equal to 4. So no more than 4 gigabytes are left. For example B, we have negative 10 is less than negative 13 plus q. The first step we need to do involves getting q by itself. If we have a negative 13 out in front, that's kind of like subtracting 13. So we're going to add 13 to solve this inequality. So negative 10 plus 13 is positive 3. On the right-hand side, the negative 13s are going to cancel each other out, so you're just left with q. So 3 is less than q, or we can read it backwards, q is greater than 3. For sample 1a, we have m plus 3 is greater than 6. To get m by itself, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So m is greater than 3, which means we're going to put an open circle at 3 and draw the arrow right. For problem B, again, we're trying to isolate the variable, get the variable by itself. 8 is being added to it, so we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. The 8's on the left cancel each other out, and 15 minus 8 is 7. So t is less than 7. We'll put another open circle at 7, and this time the arrow will go left. For letter C, x is on the right-hand side, so we take a look and see what's happening to it. 7 is being added, so the opposite of that is to subtract 7. So we subtract 7 from both sides. On the left-hand side, we have negative 3 minus 7, which is negative 10. On the right-hand side, 7 minus 7, they cancel each other out, and you're just left with x. So negative 10 is less than or equal to x. Now when you get ready to graph this, you need to think of this the other way. Read it backwards, start at the x. X is greater than or equal to negative 10. So we will put a closed circle at negative 10 and an arrow going right. Pause the video at this time to finish copying down the notes. Don't forget, you have to have a question that you ask in class tomorrow. Number 2, an airline lets you check up to 65 pounds of luggage. One suitcase weighs 37 pounds. How much can another suitcase weigh? We need to start with a verbal model. So we're going to take the weight of the first suitcase plus the weight of the second suitcase can be up to the total weight of the luggage. Now we have to really think about this problem. Can the luggage weigh 65 pounds? It can. So when we replace can be up to, we know that it can actually equal 65. So that will change the inequality that we put in there. So let's start filling in what we know and determine a variable. Our variable is going to be for the weight of the second suitcase. So let's just use S for suitcase. Now we can create our algebra inequality. We know the weight of the first suitcase is 37 pounds. So we replace that. Then we have our addition sign. We don't know the weight of the second suitcase, so we're going to use our variable S. Now we come to the inequality, can be up to. We know it can be up to 65, and it can include 65, but it cannot be more than 65. So that would be a less than equal to symbol, and the total weight is 65 pounds. Now let's begin solving this. To isolate the variable, to get it by itself, we're going to have to subtract 37 from both sides of the inequality. The 37s on the left cancel each other out, so you're left with S. On the right, 65 minus 37 is 28. So the answer to the question is, your suitcase can weigh up to and including 28 pounds. Pause the video at this time to finish copying down the notes. Try solving these 3 inequalities on your own. So pause the video, work them out. When you're finished, turn it back on and see how well you did. So check your answers. Example A, M is greater than 42. So open circle at 42, arrow right. For B, V is less than or equal to 7. V is less than or equal to 11. So close circle at 11, arrow left. For C, T is greater than or equal to 16. So close circle at 16 and arrow right. Pause the video at this time to finish copying down the notes. Don't forget, you have to have a question that you ask in class tomorrow.